So, for this very first video on my dissertation of what is Scientology, I thought, what's the word? What does this Scientology mean? Is it something with science fiction, or what is it? Maybe you heard that Hubbard was a very famous science fiction writer, which he was, and so on. But Scientology is actually a made-up word. It was basically him and Hubbard and his wife who went to the library, and they were sort of like going through all sorts of words and Latin beginning and endings and so on to try to find something. And after a while, they coined this word. I mean, it's skio, which means knowing, and then it is knowing sort of like in a very sort of like big sense, and then ology is logos, Greek, which means the teaching about. So it's the field of, it actually means the study of how to know. And you might think, oh, is that not a little bit making too much out of it, you know? But it's actually not, because it's. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. You might say that it might sound that this is a very simple subject. It's just, how do you know? You just know. It's not that simple. Actually, do you know what psychology means? It also has the same ending, ology, but psyche, which is the first part of psychology, is actually soul. The study of the soul. That used to be the meaning of psychology, but it's not anymore. It's sort of like study of behavioral patterns, and it's very, very far from its original meaning. And in a sense, you could say that Scientology is the study of the soul, because it's actually the study of what you know. You know, it's and you might say, but am I a soul? Well, that's very interesting. So we could actually take up a central piece of what is in Scientology, because they have just defined soul in Scientology and given it a new word. They call it a Thetan, and that's sort of like a Greek term, theta, which is a Greek letter, which is sort of like, some say it's the original description of life or thought or whatever, but a theta, and there's just one thetan. I mean, you put theta and then an n at the end, and you got a thetan, and that is basically a 1 unit of unus. A 1 unit of soul, you might say, and it's actually, when I say unus, it's because in Scientology there is this really interesting concept, which sort of like, I mean, Scientology is a religion, right? I mean, but how so? Is it a religion or is it not a religion? It's a very interesting religion, because it's all around this thing, soul, but in Scientology you don't have a soul. That's quite interesting. It's not something you have, it's something you are. So the unus is actually because you are a Thetan, and you are a spirit, or you are a soul, or whatever. But Scientology just wants to be very sure that, because they want to be very precise in the use of words, so they basically taken this word Thetan and said, this is what we understand with the soul. And the Scientology way of understanding soul is that it is you. Exactly. You are a Thetan. And if I take I'm gonna make this a bit graphic. If I take a machine gun and go and I shoot your body to completely smashed up, will I then actually have done any damage to you, really? I mean, I'm talking about you, because your body will be completely obliterated, yes, and the question is, did I get you also? Are you still there? Are you still surviving death? Will you be there in thousands of years from now, or millions of years from now? Have you been here forever, you might say? Well, in Scientology, there is this concept that you are a Thetan and you are indestructible. So, so Scientology is how to know, but it's more how do you know, and you being a Thetan, a spiritual being. So in Scientology, you don't have a Thetan, you are a Thetan. And you don't have a, but let's just, in the traditional terms, you would say that are we not in reality talking about being a spirit or not being a spirit? Yes, but spirit and soul and all these things have different meanings. You can also have soul as a music form, right? And you've got he's got spirit, meaning he's got sort of like an attitude and so on. So they have meanings which makes it a little bit unprecise, and Scientology wants to be very precise and talk exactly about what they're talking about. So a Thetan in Scientology is something which is not physical. Ooh, that's interesting. But it is you. And you're not physical if we take the Scientology definition of you. You're actually not physical. So you are sort of like, what then? Well, you are this entity which is able to have ideas. Obviously you have ideas, right? I have ideas, you have ideas. And you have, you'll be able to decide things. And you'll be able to say that, okay, I am, one of your ideas might be that you are in this skull, and this idea is so much agreed upon about everyone around you and you and so that it becomes so. In Scientology, actually, you have this idea that a Thetan is able to sort of like create circumstances by its thoughts. So it's sort of like a little powerful thing, is it not? You know, well, how come you're not powerful then? Well, that's one of the, you might say, adventures or targets of exploration in Scientology is try to find out how come, if you have the ability to create with your, just by your thoughts alone, how come you're not doing it then? And have you been able to do it before, and so on. So that's what Scientology is a little bit about. It's about knowing those things, okay? So the ology teaching, the Scientology, meaning the field of knowing, is actually you knowing, okay? It is very, very simple and very, very so simple that it almost sounds complicated to talk about, right? But let's just say that it's important to get the subjects a little bit down, and Scientology is a teaching of how you as a spirit knows. Okay? That's what it is. It is not it's not so much about believing. There is a sense of believing because you believe that. I can get around to that another point, but you can also. But it's more like if you believe, you can believe in the human rights, right? The rights of a soul. What's that? Is that the same as the rights of a human being? That's interesting, right? Does the soul have any rights? Does the spirit has any right? In Scientology, does a Thetan have rights? Is that not essential that a Thetan has rights? I mean, that you can believe, and that is, in Scientology there are certain things where you believe that this is the right way to do it, and you want to sort of like go in a certain direction, and you want to do certain things, right? But Scientology is a teaching of how you, as a spirit, can know as a spirit. Okay? So I'm using spirit because it's so much built in to use that. But it's actually, when you talk about a Thetan, and in Scientology you're talking about something very specific. You're not talking about anything which can be misunderstood, and that is very important to the teaching of Scientology, that it's all very defined and precise. Okay, so that's why it's a new word for spirit, a Thetan, and a Thetan is you, and it's not a physical thing. It is not something over there. It's you. But you not being physical, I mean, let's step it up a bit. What does it mean to be physical? It means that you have, I mean, if you take my phone here, right, then this has a place in the physical universe, right? My glass of coffee here has a place in the physical universe. It's here. It's there for a duration of time, and then if we go 1,000 years into the future, this glass is probably going to be broken, and this phone is definitely not going to be here anymore. But in Scientology, we talk about a Thetan, and you are going to be here. Okay? So that is what we're talking about when we are talking about what is Scientology about. It's about you and what you can know about the true essence of you. Okay? So I think I have covered two things here. I covered what does the word Scientology mean, and what is a Thetan. Okay? And those two things are key concepts in Scientology. But really, it is quite simple. It is about spiritual knowledge, because that is what the whole subject is about. Okay? So let's conclude that, and that was the first introduction to the subject. Alright?